Now, let's talk about topic at hand. Donation forms. Jen Berganti, I'm going to have you help me with this first part. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. So, as I understand it, if you are a Razor's Edge or Blackbaud customer right now, you're looking at 4 different options if you want to put up a donation page. I want to give donors a chance to give money to my organization. It's going to be one of these 4, right? Okay.
Correct.
So let's run through what we're looking at. NetCommunity, as I understand it, if you're using NetCommunity, you're probably wearing this shirt right here, right? From our good friend. Who's this from, Andy?
Carlene.
Carlene. Carlene's probably on here. Shout out to
He is
Carlene.
here today. I see her, yeah.
Carlene, drop a link in the chat. This is Carlene started off as a database administrator. Now she is an apparel maven, in that I think she makes all of her money throughout the year on selling these Pride Database View for my Cold Dead Hands t-shirts. So NetCommunity, tell me what is this product, Jen? Like, who's using NetCommunity right now?
NetCommunity, I think, is one of those things where, our good old RE7 users that don't want to let go of database view are still on NetCommunity, one of the, first kind of online giving products that Razor's Edge had. And so at some point it will go away. So that's why we're here today to kind of talk about some of the other options.
Bad news for the NetCommunity fans here today. So, and Andy, am I correct? Did NetCommunity wasn't it also like a website build? It was like more. It was kind of a
Yeah, it was
wasn't
kind
it?
of the original marketing tool, right? So when we think about NXT marketing now with, email and kind of donation forms and those kinds of things, it was the OG, the original, kind of platform in which Razor's Edge had to create donation forms and do some of the email marketing and those kinds of things as well.
Yep, got it. Okay, so if you're on NetCommunity, spoiler alert, that product will not be around forever. Donation forms are
Candy looks like Candy in the chat here. Candy had a funeral yesterday for Blackbaud NetCommunity, so probably still wearing black today and grieving a little bit, but
perfect
welcome
time.
to the world.
They closed it down yesterday, and today they're like, "Oh man, we got to get some donation pages back up. We got the money stopped coming in." Okay, so if you're still on Razor's Edge 7 NetCommunity, it's an option. We're not going to talk to it a bunch other than to say you should pay attention to the rest of this webinar because we're going to talk about what you can go to when you turn off NetCommunity. Okay. Speaking of legacy products, but a little bit less so, we've got Online Express, right? OLX. Jen, what is OLX?
Yes, beloved Online Express. So most of the Razor's Edge 7 users and old database view users are probably still, many of them on Online Express. It's a tried and true product, really good pledge functionality. It integrates really well with Razor's Edge in terms of batching, and there's definitely the email marketing and some of the event form compatibility as well. So it's been a really popular product and a tried and true one. And it is hard to let it go because of those pledges. I know now they're live in NXT, but this has kind of been the main holdout in trying to get people onto the NXT forms because we don't want to let our pledge forms go.
Yeah, and we have so PSG, we still manage this. It's not unusual for someone to be on OLX, right? We have lots of clients that are still using OLX. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Many on this call, some names I've been trying to convert for well over a year to NXT, and they're still holding hope.
So we have clients that are just on OLX, but then we have many, I think, that we're using that have gone over to the new NXT forms that we're going to talk about, but they keep OLX up for a specific purpose, right? So tell me about Jen, tell me about pledge functionality and why OLX was the choice there.
Yep. So it has really great functionality with being able to build out, how many installments you wanted. If you want to limit and say, I want those installments to be paid off in 4 months or 6 months or 18 months, there's a lot of flexibility there. So it's just really great for those organizations that want to have that robust pledge program and get the data in the way that they need it to for pledges.
Yeah. So when Blackbaud rolled out the new NXT donation forms, it did not have pledging in them. So a lot of people either didn't go at all or they're like, okay, that's fine for one-time givers, but we're going to stick with OLX. It's tried and true. It has all the flexibility we need for pledge functionality. But that has changed, right? So like NXT now has, am I hearing that correctly, Jen?
They have now rolled it out, and we have some other ninjas at PSG who have been using it for some of their clients. So they've unfortunately been the guinea pigs. So we've been getting a lot of feedback about how those new pledge functionality is working in the real world.
Yep.
So the consensus, as you have on the screen here, Nick, is that they don't work totally well yet. There are a lot of things that I think we're not so much of a fan of, with not being able to do adjustments and write-offs, and things that are not so great. So I hate to be one of those holdouts with OLX, but the current functionality I'm seeing in NXT pledge forms, I actually had to recommend to one of the clients that we work with for PSG that we don't move to the pledge forms for this upcoming appeal because there's too many kinks that still need to be worked out.
Yep.
And I think it's important to know for the folks that are on or are thinking about it or maybe on there and going like, I haven't had any issues. From our Ninja team, the struggles that we're having with the pledge functionality isn't in the accepting of the pledges. It's once that pledge is established, any variation of that pledge. So if you have a donor that makes a pledge kind of ahead of schedule or makes a gift that they want applied to the pledge, you don't have the flexibility of applying that kind of outside gift into the established schedule. You essentially would have to recreate a new pledge and adjust the existing pledge down. So it's just not as clean, I guess I would say, as what OLX currently provides. I think that they'll get there. They're just not quite there yet.
Yep. So we're excited they added pledges, and we'll talk in detail about the NXT forms. Is it correct to say, Jen Berganti, regarding OLX, if you're using it right now, that's still fine. Some features are still better than what's available that you could switch to regarding pledges specifically. So don't stress out if you're on OLX right now, but it will be sunset, right? At some point with database view, like that train's coming down the tracks, right? That's what we've
Yes.
heard from Blackbaud.
Yes, it is. It is going to be going away. I mean, I know Blackbaud has said what 2027 is when database view is going to go away. So, kind of reading between the lines and assuming that that's when OLX will also go away as well. So it's good to at least have that in mind. But yes, I mean, we're going to be using OLX for the upcoming appeal for this year, and hopefully in a few months, they'll work out some of the kinks and we can switch everyone over.
Yeah. And again, we have a unique relationship with Blackbaud being a huge user of theirs, but being somewhat software agnostic and not being responsible for it. They get a lot of punches fairly, right, for things that are half baked or that don't work the way they should. I do want to defend them on this in that people are screaming for pledges. They've rolled it out. They're getting feedback. It will get better, right? So I just saw a comment where like, oh, I'd wish they'd stop pushing out stuff that had some bugs in it. That's just the way software works, right? And I say that we have software products too. Like you roll stuff out, you get feedback, you fix it. It's just the time it takes to fix it. You hope is as short as possible. So we are giving Blackbaud the benefit of the doubt on this. We know their forms will get better. There's lots of stuff that's wonky. Believe me, we send them lists all the time on things that need to be better. But I understand the user's frustration, which is you just want something that works. You don't want to be a guinea pig, right? So hopefully they get all the wonkiness out in the early adopter programs. By the time it's in general release, you want it to be mostly baked, if not entirely baked. But for now, summarizing OLX before we get to the new forms, it's okay if you're on it. We understand if you're on it. And there's some other thing. I think somebody mentioned thermometers. There's other little widgety type things that OLX has that are good. But you need to start looking and seeing what's coming down the pipe because at some point you're going to have to transition. Be better if you're fully aware before you do that.
Well, and I think as we get into the NXT forms, one of the things that we have certainly encouraged a lot of our clients to do is, if you're an organization that has an annual appeal that might get 5 or 10,000 gifts, don't start with that. Don't start with your annual appeal to use the new forms, right? Look at a smaller, like follow-up mailing or, something like that you can take a small segment of things to kind of test out the forms before you open it up, just so that the gift processing team can be comfortable with the new format and just kind of how things are going to work.
I wanted to say also, Nick, with OLX, if you're using those forms for recurring giving, that's definitely something that you could switch over to the NXT forms. Recurring gifts seem to process beautifully inside of NXT. The batches come through clean. There's really no issues in amending gifts. So that's if you have OLX forms set up just for recurring gifts, that could easily be converted into NXT. And if you have some manual gifts that you're processing through an EFT batch, you could go convert those to automated processing in NXT, and it will make your life so much easier.
Let's continue on that. So let's give credit where it's due. The new forms have some things, and I know Stacey and Austin have touched on that, but we've never dedicated a whole webinar to it. Let's walk through some of the, like what are the benefits. So the new NXT standard form, walk me through it. So I'm told they're easier to build. Tell me about matching logic. Tell me about EFT stuff here.
Yes, so the forms, honestly, the standard forms are really similar to how OLX is set up. You go through and fill out a lot of the same information. And it's a little bit more intuitive and kind of pretty, more to look at than kind of the old, database view format. So building them and setting them up is really easy. The matching logic I know has been a concern whenever the forms first rolled out. They didn't have good matching logic, so everything that came in was pretty much created as a duplicate, which created a lot of back-end work for the database administrators. The new matching logic, which I know is you guys will get to later in the webinar too in more detail, but it really has improved and you have more flexibility in how much you want the system to match for you. And so there's a good middle ground where it will match what it can find, and then you go and manually review what doesn't match. And you can get through that matching really quick. I think it's maybe even faster than the OLX matching.
Yeah.
And so I'm a huge fan of the new matching. I think it works beautifully. We don't have any duplicates that get created unless there's just people are entering things, at different name formats, different emails, and we just don't have information to match on. But if there's information there, we probably 99% of the time are able to match.
And I want to emphasize that because I guarantee you, of the hundreds of people on this, that is news to them, right? Because it gets stuck in people's heads. So when it first came out, it was, oh no, I'm sticking with OLX. It's easier to match. Like this NXT, it's taking forever. Like that is no longer the case. So like PSG processes more gifts, I think, than probably anyone on this call. And our team is telling you what Jen just said. Like it is better now. They've improved it. The matching is much better in NXT.
Yes.
So
Yes.
want to emphasize that because I know that's counterintuitive. A lot of people are coming here with the pitchforks, ready to complain about matching. They have gotten better at it. And Lauren's actually going to walk us through some of that in a little bit here.
The one exception to that I will say is the events. So if you're using, the event registrations, some of those are still kind of coming through the cracks. And so it sounds like the development teams, the whoever's working on the event module and the registration forms is not the same team that's doing the giving forms. And so that matching logic hasn't yet transferred over to the event registration. So you will still see it there. But in terms of
events, tributes too, right?
Yes, tributes, I think, is still falling in that same problem category.
Yeah. So core stuff is getting, and the reason I bring it up too is because I know that we've beaten up on Blackbaud in the past for it when it first came out. Credit where it's due, they've gotten better at. Like for the bulk of it, it's gotten better. Event stuff, tribute stuff, it will get better. It's not there yet. So don't let the duplicate matching thing hold you off from NXT forms because that is not the reality that it was 6 months ago. Lauren, what do we mean that gift processors can finally go on vacation? That makes me a little bit nervous.
I worked in gift processing for years and years and years, and I actually still do some gift processing for some of our clients. And for those of you specifically who ran your recurring gifts on the 5th, 10th, 15th, or 20th, or maybe you ran them on multiple days because you gave donors options or you processed credit cards one day, direct debits on another, you never really got to go on vacation because you had to process your OLX gifts as they came in because EFT or direct debit gifts would not get processed until you imported them, matched them, did all the things, put them in a batch. What I love about an NXT form is that the gifts that you get have already been processed. So you've already, by the time you are approving a batch, it has hit the credit card, it has hit the bank account, and has come through to you. Now, obviously, things bounce, whatever, but that's going to happen anywhere. You figure that out later. But the first gift has been processed. In 2011, I went to Rome for a week and processed gifts in the middle of the night because I was gone on the 15th. And I was in a small nonprofit and I was the only one who did it. Not cool. That was very much not cool. And now that doesn't need to be the case. Gifts process, and then I can come in and hit them whenever I'm back in the office. The same is true for recurring gifts. I don't have to push the button. I don't have to load the batch for recurring gifts that were made or have been automated through NXT. Those are processed on the 15th, on the 10th, on the 5th, on the 20th, whatever day they need to be processed. And I come in when I'm back from vacation and my jet lag and approve all the batches, and donors never know.
Awesome.
So,
We love it.
Couple critical things there, Nick, I want to point out because we've seen some, I mean, in the work that we do, we've seen some stuff, and generally people don't call us.
Oh no.
Uh-oh. I was panicking that it was me.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to circle back with Andy on that. So you can go on vacation. It's a big win. NXT does more things automatically. Credit to the team over there. I think Sam may even be on this call, who's been working on donation forms for a long time with Blackbaud. Pledge functionality it doesn't work properly. Lauren or Jen, can you just speak to briefly what are the things that are so wonky about the pledges on the forms?
I'll let Lauren take that one.
We've just noticed having some problems with gifts that are donors who act like donors. Like I got some extra
Right.
money, I want to
Well said.
pay a little early, and it doesn't let us apply an extra payment. I made a pledge accidentally for $107, and no, I'm just going to pay 115 and let it get paid off earlier. That doesn't work. It breaks everything intentionally. So we're having to make adjustments that auditors would not love.
Right. So internal, which is a normal process, right? Like you get the functionality down, then you work on the in-house, inward-facing stuff. So they're still working on things there. It will get better. I'm confident. I guess I can't say with certainty, but I'm very confident it will get better. They don't want it to be wonky. They want it to work as smoothly as possible because they're moving people over from OLX. Tributes, same thing administratively. It's the administering, and people even brought it up in the chat, so people are aware. It's not there yet. So if you have forms, you're getting a ton of tributes, you're getting a ton of pledges. It's okay to stick around on OLX for a while longer. Let's let the things sort themselves out. But if you've been holding off going to NXT because you're worried about matching and duplicates, that concern is gone away. If you have never been able to take a vacation, NXT forms are for you, right? Just the automated nature of things that you don't have to click the button to run things is certainly improved. Okay. So we talked through that. What about this one? I don't know what this means. What it says can't use batch defaults.
So gifts that come in through an NXT form have to be processed in NXT, in the unified view, in web view, call it what you want. You can't do it in database view. So now, to be fair, in OLX, you can apply some defaults because they were already applied if you didn't check all the right buttons. So I don't want to pretend that everything works awesome there. But you can't add a letter code. You cannot, trying to think what else I like to do in a database view batch. What else can't you do, Jennifer? You can't add a letter code. You can't default an attribute.
Apply
Those sorts of
membership,
things.
gift subtypes.
So
The crowd is
subtypes
filling
is
the
a
phone.
big one for a lot of our clients.
Yeah,
So
any of
that
those
is a
WYSI
problem.
defaults that you would like to pull in to your specific use case, can't do
Yeah.
that.
Okay. So
we have worked out some tricks with our automation crew for some constituent defaults we can apply, but I don't think we can do them to gifts yet. It's just not available.
yeah. Okay. Want to highlight a couple other things, then we're going to start talking about like donor cover, complete cover, the thing that people have lots of questions on that as well. 2 optional features that you can turn on and off. Jen or Lauren, you can take this. Recurring gift upsell, what is that?
So recurring gift upsell is when if you have the form, set to a cash gift and you go online and you say, okay, I want to give $50 and you fill out your information, a little pop-up will appear and it'll ask you if you want to convert your gift to a recurring gift. So it's a way to try and, increase your recurring gift donor base.
Yep. And I imagine Blackbaud's doing so that's a feature that's become pretty commonplace on other standalone. Like if you don't use BBMS or Blackbaud donation forms and you're using one of the others, that's one of the widgets and innovations that's happening out there. So I think they're probably, looking to get on par with other ones that do a good job with that. And then intelligent ask, I'll actually take this one if that's okay. So intelligent ask is a feature that's going to come up on this optimized form as well. We get asked about this a bunch too, because we years and years ago came up with a project called Ask Genius, which I think many of the folks on this call actually use Ask Genius, but I get asked about it enough. I want to do a comparison just to show people what each one is used for, because really they're used for 2 different things, but they're similar. Okay, so they're like same font, different, same type, different font. Is that what my teenage daughter says all the time? Okay, intelligent ask is working on this. So you set up a donation page and it will tweak, Lauren, am I correct? It will tweak the amounts that are being presented to the donor, right? That is what intelligent ask is doing. It's trying to optimize and raise you a little bit more money based on what it knows about the donor.
You pick a high and a low, I think.
You pick a high and a low, and then it fills it in and it can adjust things on the fly. You're giving Blackbaud permission to adjust your ask amounts on your donation form. Ask Genius is the same thing, kind of on steroids, right? So we did this. It's largely for direct mail. If you're going to send out 10,000 pieces of mail and you want to know what's the right ask string to put on everybody's pledge cards, that's what Ask Genius does. And what most of the people on this call use it for is to create ask strings at scale, right? Give you the ability to ask the right amount to everyone on your list. Now, intelligent ask, it's limited by what it can be based on, right? Because if your donor just wanders onto your donation page, the donation form doesn't know who they are. So the things it can tell, and this is us pulling back the curtain a bit here, it can tell whether it's an Android or an Apple. We've gotten into this fight before on webinars. Obviously, Android is best. We have some people that disagree. So it can tell which phone you're on, and then it can be like, oh, iPhone users, let's charge them an extra $5. It can tell where you're at based on roughly on your IP address, or if you use a VPN, that kind of spoils it, but it can tell that. And it can tell what time it is that you're visiting. I mean, those are the things that those are the inputs that it has access to. So I just want to manage expectations around intelligent ask. If it raises you more money because it can present higher ask amounts to Androids or iPhones or something like that, I think that's great. I just want to be clear, it has nothing to do with who your donors are. It doesn't know who your donor is when it goes to your donation page. Ask Genius, for those of you that use it, it's based on a ton of actual data of that donor, right? So we're looking at their giving history, we're looking at their largest gift, we're looking at target analytics and all the great products from Blackbaud to set that ask amount. The question we get all the time is, can you marry those two together? We are working on it. We've had great conversations with Blackbaud. Yes, you can take Ask Genius ask amounts and pass it through to a donation form. So Jen, I send you a mailing and it starts with $175. I can then send you a link to donate and it matches what you got in the mail. But that's outside of Blackbaud. That's if you're using like Give Central or Virtuous or one of the other partners that lets you pass through ask amounts. Blackbaud isn't there yet. They don't let you pass through amounts. We've had good talks with them. We think we'll get to that point. But as of right now, you're left with this sort of stripped down thing, which is intelligent ask, right? You can adjust, you can play around the edges, but it's going to be based on, again, just that sort of anonymous user data. What time is it? Where's their IP address? Apple or iPhone or desktop. Okay. So I wanted to cover that quickly. Last form, NXT optimized form. Let's do this in short order, and then we'll spend the next half hour here talking about the really interesting stuff on donor cover. What is, Jen Briganti, the optimized form?
This is the one that I would say is probably kind of designed to compete with all the other type of like online giving platforms that are out there that have really slick giving forms. So it's going to capture the least amount of donor information so that they can process and get them to go through the process and complete the gift as fast as possible. You can do, customized, branding and really make it, look pretty for the donor. Not so great, I guess, on the database side because you can allow it to not accept a lot of information. So you may just get an email address for, a person. But the flip side of that is it has a higher conversion rate.
Yeah. So we can tell who has more authority in your organization by if you're using the optimized form or not. So if you are a database run organization, you're going to use the regular form, which collects lots of information. If it's just frontline fundraisers, they're of course going to want streamlined, beautiful all day. But this is typical. Like this wouldn't be your primary donation page, right? This would be you're having an event, you're having a gala, you have something like you want to be quick and painless, more of a widget style thing. And then Lauren, did I read correctly? It uses intelligent ask, and that's actually mandated. That's not like a turn on or off. It does it on its own.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So those are your options. So you could be on NetCommunity. That's going to be going away. Many people are still in OLX. That's fine. That's normal. There's some better functionality in OLX that we think NXT will get there, but it's okay to stay where you are for pledges and tributes and things like that. For matching, for recurring gifts, for automatic stuff, you want to go to NXT now. It's better. NXT forms we've talked through, and optimized forms are sort of the streamlined, more beautiful widgety type thing. If you have questions, put them in the Q&A, and we'll make sure to get through all of them. We have a bunch of them in there right now, but make sure to type your question into the Q&A, and we'll get to it. And now, Lauren, I'm going to ask you to take the lead here. I'm going to walk through what I know about the transaction fee question, and then you're going to tell me what I'm messing up or what is correct, okay?
Buckle up, people. Buckle up.
Hot topic. The hot topic if you've been a Razor's Edge user for a while now. So Blackbaud has two options. So the question on the table is, I want to let my donors pay credit card fees, right? They're going to pay, can they pay the transaction fee? How do I do that? In fact, I got an email this morning from someone I never met that said, hey, I saw you're doing a webinar. I was wondering, how can I let donors pay transaction fees? I said, great, come to the webinar. We're going to talk about exactly that. There are two options from Blackbaud as I understand it. There's donor cover and there's complete cover, okay? In both cases, you choose whether to turn it on. So Lauren, this is at the form level, right? So if I'm an organization, I can set up one form with nothing. I can set up one form and turn on donor cover. I can set another form, turn on complete cover, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you are in charge. So none of this is forced on you. You get all the control. If you turn it on, then it becomes an opt-out for the donor. So Lauren creates a donation form. She turns on donor cover, and we're going to talk through the details. The experience for the donor is they go to that donation page, they make their gift. That box is already checked that says, I want to give X amount more. The donor would have to uncheck it. Still correct? All right. So how it works on donor cover, if a donor covers the transaction fee, you save money. That's the premise of donor cover. That is the baseline that we all have in our heads of, I want to give the option for the donor to pay the transaction fee. They do it, great. I don't have to pay it. Okay. So if the donor pays it, you don't have to. If they choose not to, if they uncheck that box, then you're going to pay the transaction fee. Okay. That's how donor cover works. Pretty common with some wrinkles. Complete cover. Or if you turn on complete cover, all the gifts that come through there, your organization doesn't pay any transaction fees. If somebody donates $100, you're getting $100 regardless of what the donor checks or unchecks, right? It's donor cover, it's complete cover. Blackbaud is making a promise to you that you are going to get every dollar of the original gift that is intended. Okay. That sounds like an amazing deal. I can see why a lot of people are excited by that. You have to read the fine print though and understand what's actually happening so you can make an intelligent decision on what's right for you. Okay.
Yep.
So donor cover, you may have some people pay transaction fees. You may have some that don't. Complete cover, all the transaction fees are covered. Here's that next step though, okay? On donor cover, if the donor doesn't opt out, this is what happens. The donor will pay 3.95%, 3.95% plus 30 cents on top of the original gift. And we're going to use an exact example, so we'll put real numbers in front of you, okay? Donor cover, common 3%-ish transaction fee. They can opt in or out. That's what they're going to pay. On complete cover, if you turned it on, if the donor does not opt out of complete cover, they are going to pay an additional 9 to 10% on top of that original gift, although it maxes out at 3,000. Lauren, did I say that right?
Correct. At 3,000, it switches over to donor cover regardless. It just yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So you can see now why Blackbaud is willing to tell you we'll cover all the transaction fees, because they're putting in front of donors a 9 to 10%, a much higher transaction fee, but it's not labeled a transaction fee, right? So that's I assume they know that some people will say, yes, I'll pay that. Many more will probably say, I'm not going to pay that, and that they're going to net out, the difference. Okay. So donor cover 3.95% plus 30 cents. Complete cover, it's going to be 9 to 10%. Now, Lauren, that's not written anywhere, right? Like it really could be anything that they're putting in front of them, but we keep trying it.
Yes. The 9 to 10 is an average. It can go higher, it can go lower. When they started complete cover, donors could choose a percentage, and now they cannot. It's just, do you want to give an extra this dollars?
Oh. So complete cover is a solution from Blackbaud. It's like an easy button. It's like, if you never want to pay a transaction fee, turn this thing on and we're going to handle it from there. And then what they're going to do is put an extra number in front of the donor that you're not responsible for, you're not in control of. Okay.
I actually think an easy button is a good way to say it. It's an easy button and you can't have any input on it. Like, we've handled it, and the cost of that is we're giving you all the fees.
Yes, it's binary. There's no adjustments. So let's dig in a little bit deeper, right? So on donor cover, you can see. So the traditional donor cover, you can see which donors covered the fees, how much they're charged, right? You get a report on that. On complete cover, you have no idea, right? You're saying Blackbaud's going to give me the full amount of every gift, and then they're going to add on an extra amount, which in our research averages 9 to 10%. But we have no idea who paid that, right, Lauren?
We don't know how much they paid. We do see paid if you try and change it, which we can talk about in a little bit, but
yeah.
Yeah.
There's ways we can
can't
around.
see the amount.
you're not getting a report that says this person made a gift of
No.
$1,000 and an extra $90 on top of it. Okay. So let's do it with real numbers here. And remember, when you have questions, I know because it's been lighting up now, people, this is a hot topic. Hit it in the Q&A button. So Lauren gets out a crisp $10 bill from her digital wallet and makes a gift. Okay. This is what it looks like. So donor cover, it's going to look like that on the left. And we'll go in detail here. Complete covers on the right. We'll talk about the language here. So donor cover, your $10 gift becomes $10.67. Okay. That's your gift plus that 3%, 3.95% plus 30 cents. That is what you're paying. Okay. And we'll talk about tax deductibility in a second. On complete cover, you made that $10 gift, and then it had the extra, in this case, 9% for processing support. So you end up paying $10.90. Okay. That is what it looks like. Those are actual gifts made. That's actual language that gets, put up on the screen. Let's zoom in on what it tells the donor. So on complete cover, it looks like this. The box that you have put on there, when you turn on donor cover, you're essentially checking this box for everyone that goes to that page, unless they uncheck it. It says cover the processing fee, so 100% of my donation goes to the organization. Very typical, right? This is language you see on a whole lot of donation forms, no matter who the provider is. And Lauren, that is tax deductible, correct?
Yes, because it's just an increased donation that I can do as an organization. I can do with it whatever I want.
Yep. So it is deductible. It goes to the organization. Complete cover reads a little different, right? It says this platform is powered by Blackbaud at reduced cost to us, the organization. Contribute 9% to them, to Blackbaud, right, to continue the support. That is not tax deductible, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
That is a payment to a for-profit organization like Walmart or authorized.net or whatever.
Yep. Got it. So I'm sure people can understand where this is going. But I wanted to use the word hubbub because that's the first time I've been able to put that on a slide, and we've been doing webinars for I think 5 years. So Lauren, given all this, let's talk to what was all the hubbub about each of these, right? So if you're on any of the forums, you know that this is a sensitive topic to a whole lot of people. For donor cover, tell me if I'm correct in analyzing the hubbub. 3.95% plus 30 is what's getting charged no matter what. What I put on the screen is Blackbaud's posted rates for BBMS, right? I think as of yesterday when I put the slides together. So they're basically charging the Amex rate. And if you know a lot about this, Amex charges a higher rate, Visa, MasterCard is a little bit lower, ACH and debit is lower. So you might be used to getting different rates and fees depending on what the donor does. Blackbaud is charging you the highest rate, the Amex, a little bit higher than Amex rate, regardless of what's coming in, right? Regardless of whether the person is doing direct debit or Visa or anything else. If you're using donor cover, they're charging that higher rate and they are keeping the difference. Like, so if somebody does a debit, normally they'd be charged a lower transaction fee, but in this case, they're getting that 3.95 plus 30 no matter what, and Blackbaud is keeping the difference. Is that right?
Correct.
That was not always the case.
Correct.
So why
They
do they
used to
use this?
just charge us this much for, or you can't see me moving my cursor. No one can. They used to charge it 2 point Visa rate. They used to charge a Visa rate for a Visa card, Discover rate for a Discover card, and Amex rate for an Amex card.
Yeah.
And they paid you, they charged the donor that. They presented that amount to the donor. And
Yep.
then they gave you everything extra that the donor gave. Now they charge the donor the highest rate, which is currently an Amex, anywhere between 3.5 and 3.95, and they charge the donor that on every card, and they give you what you paid. So if I pay with a Visa, my fee may, I'm not doing actual math. This is not actual math. My fee may only be 50 cents, but Blackbaud is going to keep the 17 cents and not send it back to me.
Yep. Okay. So if people have questions about that, the outrage, I believe, is when Blackbaud changed it. They used to not just charge the maximum and keep it. They used to vary the rate based on the card that the donor used, how they did it. When they announced it to folks, if I can put my PR hat on, it was a terrible way that they rolled it out, if I can just be candid. I know we have Blackbaud people on here. I know that they don't disagree. the message that went out to all the customers was, hey, we're doing this special thing and it's to make life simpler for you, right? It was a very condescending message, which was great news, everybody. We're going to make it so much simpler. You don't have to do math anymore. And what they were announcing was, we are going to charge a higher rate and we are going to keep more money. But it was presented in a way that was very condescending to a lot of customers. I know that because my email blew up and I still get messages about it today, right? People are like, I can't believe. And I think it was less about what they were charging, because to be honest, Blackbaud's not that far off from what other organizations charge if you're doing an independent third party, donor processing. It wasn't that. It was the rollout of it and the fact that they didn't always charge at higher rate. They used to be able to get a better deal as an organization, but then they changed it. And in the process of changing it, it was assuming that nobody would notice what was happening, right? Like, hey, great news, you don't have to do math anymore, everybody. In reality, every single person that got that notice is like, what the hell is going on? Like, you're treating me like I'm an idiot, you're taking more money and you're telling me it's better for me. Like, so that is what's going on with donor cover. I would say in summary, it's fairly typical with what we see with other, online processing vendors that you can use. Might be a little bit higher in some, might be a little bit lower in others. You can turn on or off. Donors are going to be used to it. No one's going to freak out. Complete cover hubbub. Okay, so moving on to the other one. A little bit larger scale hubbub that we've seen from using this for organizations. Two things.
Yes.
Number one is that you have no idea what donors are paying to Blackbaud. Andy, is that right?
That is correct. So all we're going to get is the gift amount, and we don't know if it was 9%, if it was 10%, if it was 12 or 15%. We have no idea.
Right, which makes people nervous, right? So if you're an organization that you value more than anything, getting that full $10 and not paying attention to transaction fees, you're going to turn it on. But if you're one that values knowledge and information about what all is happening to your donors, you're going to freak out about the idea that they might be asked to give larger amounts that you have no visibility into.
And particularly, yeah, it's important because we don't know, we can't acknowledge and thank them for what we don't know, right? So we're still sending them a $10 acknowledgement, even if they made a $15 transaction, and
Right.
then they get mad that we didn't acknowledge $15, we only acknowledged 10.
And Lauren, this is a fairly frequent occurrence that we get, right? When PSG turns on donor or complete cover, sorry, it's not uncommon for us to get people reaching out, and I think it's for so one, the donor's like, hey, in this scenario, I gave $1,000, your acknowledgement only said, or sorry, I gave 1,090, your acknowledgement only said 1,000. Number one. Number two, you have donors that see that on the screen and think, this organization is gouging me. Like,
You are terrible stewards of my money. Why are you paying?
Right.
9% in processing fees.
Right. Because that is the typical donor cares about that. Like, we get angry letters because the letter was 2 pages instead of 1. How dare you waste treat? I mean, people care about nonprofit stewarding money, right? And we can make light of it, but there's a serious concern there. When a donor who knows a thing or two sees a 9% transaction fee, they either think they're getting honked by the nonprofit, right? Like, you or the nonprofit are doing this to me, that's crazy. Or worse, they think you're run by idiots and they think that you're getting honked by a vendor, right? Like, we get those calls all the time, and it generally leads to, I demand that such and such organization that you talk to my banker or this other, I'm in this business, like, I can get you a better deal than this, right? It's just all of these conversations are coming up because they think that you have agreed to pay 9% on everything, right? That's not ideal. So that's, again, there are uses for this complete cover. If you just absolutely always want to get the full $10, right, or the full $100 or whatever, and not think about it, it can be a good solution for you. For us in larger organizations, sophisticated organization, it has been a wild ride, right, to encounter what donors feel when they see this thing happen, right?
And I'll also say, somebody else mentioned, I don't remember if it was Chad or the question, there have been a couple instances where, like, a donor calls and wants to adjust their recurring gift either up or down, and we can't do it on our end because complete cover is attached or donor cover is attached. So you really got to be mindful of those things because you don't always know them until they happen. So read all the documentation before you make a choice. We're
Yep.
not covering all the details. We
Yep.
cover a lot of them, but read the documentation before you make a choice.
There was
Okay.
also a question in the chat about just the My Organization Pays option. which is still an option. So yeah, if
Yeah.
you don't want to offer the ability for your donor to cover any fees, you can still do that, and your organization will pay 100% of the processing fees.
And I know we're short on time, but I've been
Yeah.
biting my tongue a long time. Do that.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna. I gotta move quicker. I took a long time just because people are confused by donor cover, complete cover. I wanted to make sure that we gave it a lot of room to marinate and really slowly walk through the pros and cons, like what it looks like. I'm gonna speed run through some slides because I want to get to the Q&A now. Okay. So I'm actually, Lauren, I'm gonna punt on this, but I want to keep it in the slides because people are gonna download these. So this
Yeah.
is what a report looks like. You can see what it looks like with complete cover, donor cover. If you have questions, ping us and we can walk it through. But I know
This is BBMS.
BBMS. You're inside of BBMS. That's what the report looks like. Pro tip, I have to give a plug to Austin and Stacy, who hopefully are diligently working on automations right now and not listening to us. Use automation. So like that BBMS report there, use automation. Have that sent to you every day, right? Or if you're a database administrator and people are always asking for gift reports and summaries and stuff, that's what Automate Genius does. You can send it through email. You can send stuff through Teams. You can send donors emails drafted for your major gift officers to send. That looks something like this, right? Imagine you're a frontline fundraiser, your major gift officer opens up his laptop, gets this note of all the fun stuff that happened overnight. That major gift officer can click on one of those message prompts. Like in this case, maybe somebody just joined the President's Circle and it opens up an email for that major gift officer to send to the donor. Tons of webinars on this. You can sign up for a demo of Automate Genius to learn more about it, but I did want to plug it because all of this does kind of go hand in hand. Online data review, Lauren, in 30 seconds is the answer that this is a cool new feature of NXT and we want to applaud Blackbaud for it.
Yes, it's much, much better. It works similarly. It looks different, obviously, but it works similarly to what happens in OLX. And in this case, you can see that I made everything the same, but my email address is incorrect, so it didn't match. But I can search for me by my name or by my address. And if I don't show up, you can create a new individual right from there.
And there were a couple of questions in the chat about matching to spouses in terms of households. So that's the area where you would do that.